Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast, where we talk about all things Canadian drag racing from coast to coast. I am Brandon Barker, and as always, my lovely co-host Andrew Stark.
I never get called lovely. This is a hard one to take sometimes. I'll be honest with you.
No,
but thank you.
No. I think of different things that I should say, and like it's like wonderful and whatever, excellent, but like lovely, it just rolls off the tongue.
I'll take talented next time. That would be a nice one. I don't get called that.
I'll write that down. That's a good one. That is good. Clever. Welcome back to episode 12. So we're flying by. We're at the even dozen now. Yep. This week's episode presented by KD Transmissions. So thanks everybody at KD, Johnny, helping us out, supporting us. For everybody who is interested or needs transmission help, converter help, anything like that, especially for racers in the Belleville area, Shannonville area. Now that Shannonville's back running, Johnny's there. Johnny's at the racetrack. You have questions, come ask him. You need parts, you need help, you need this, that, whatever. Meet him at the racetrack. You can find him there. Give him a call. Check them out on Facebook. Send us a message if you need something, or if you need contact with them, and let us know. Thanks to KD and Johnny, everybody, for helping us out. And did I freeze there for a sec?
No, you're good. We got you.
Perfect. I just want to make sure. So thanks to KD, everybody like that. We appreciate it. Keeps the show going. Very excited to have them on. As always, got the KD hat on.
A sharp-looking hat, too. I noticed that in the pre-show.
Yeah.
I like that.
Once I jumped in. Absolutely. You got a sharp-looking hat on as well. We commented that as well. When you jumped on.
Yeah. Not very often to get the different hats, so I thought we'd roll with it. Canadian National Open winners hat, right? So not too many of those rolling around, but we had a good weekend. We can get into that in a little bit here as we get into the Canadian Countdown.
Yes, sir. So let's jump into it. The Canadian Countdown. We'll start it out 2 weeks ago, Naperville Dragway. Don't have a whole lot of stuff from there. Obviously, I missed that event. We were at a Napa conference with the Ogilvy family. A lot of exciting stuff, a lot of it, exciting things for the future. Everything that Napa's got going on. It's pretty cool to be a part of it and invited to see what's all happening. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to go to Naperville. That's all right. A few winners, the ones that we were able to see. Chris Fumo won Super Pro on Saturday, which is awesome for the Fumo family. Chris's dad, Vince, raced for years. Excellent racer. Somewhat of a legend in the sport in that area for sure. So good for them. Saturday night. I almost said Friday night. Saturday night, we had a gamblers race that Fred Anger won. Fred followed that up Sunday with the event win then, which was over our boy Max Goche. Nice. So Maxie got to the final, couldn't seal the deal. So congratulations to Fred. And Fred got to spend the winner circle or share the winner circle with his son, Maverick, who Maverick Anger won both days in junior dragster. Nice. So a successful weekend for them. So that was great at Naperville 2 weeks ago.
That's a big double up. So National Open, Toronto Motorsports Park. We had so there's 3 National Opens in Canada. Out this end of Canada, I should say. We'll talk about another one out west a little later here. But Toronto Motorsports Park had the first one. The weekend was pretty good in the sense that not a bad car count, great weather, tons of wind. I know out in Lustville, you were saying there was windy out there. I know Grand Bend right through. Just about every race program out this end of the world was running 8th because it was just a nasty crosswind. But the deal of the weekend was double ups right through top to bottom. Saturday, they ran stock super stock combo. Drew Buchner over Victoria Smith. Victoria's the daughter of F.J. Smith, famed super stock chassis builder, multi-time Carcraft winner. Great final round. Drew picked up the wagon last year. He bought it off of a gentleman out here, Robert Bertrand. and he's been lights out driving this car. Won last year's Saturday National Open. I think he got down to 3. We were contemplating this. It's kind of bad when you can't remember how you did, but I thought runner-up. He says semis. Follows it up Saturday of this year with a win. The Super Gas, Super Street combo, Super Comp combo. Larry Pulver. Great story on this one. So Larry's out of Rochester, New York. And I mentioned this because Larry ran the TNT series with us for years. Ted Barnes' series. 43 years, I think Larry says, he's been chasing an NHRA Wally. And he finally won one on Saturday, racing Ted in the final, who won his first Wally last year at this event, winning Super Street. And I think he raced Larry in the final last year. So it was great to see him pick up the win. Top dragster, top sportsman combo, Casey Kovacs over Joe Angione, junior dragster, Cammie Scott picking up the win. They're local to the track. I think they literally live within eye shot of the track.
Cool.
Big win for her. Owen Buchner, so Drew's son. Couldn't get it done in the main event. Got it done in the Consi, junior dragster consolation race. Maudie T. This was neat too. Chris, and I always butcher names, Polanic, St. Catharines, 64 Ford Falcon, full-size car. Beautiful setup. Wins his first NHRA Wally over Dustin Taylor. Now, back to the double. Dustin will show back up later in this race, Sunday, as a runner-up again, but he's been on fire. Ontario provincial champion in mod for the bracket finals last year, out of Wally last year as well. Alan Bain picking up the win in Super Pro over Jamie Champ. Mike Konopacki, bike champion. Talked about it a couple times on the show here. Got his first of 2 Wallies on the weekend. And Gary Rankin, street eliminator over Brad Frazier. Again, this is going to be a double-up story as we get into Sunday's results. 0 in the stock, super stock. Drew Buchner picking up the double. Back-to-back wins. 3 out of 4 national opens at Cayuga over the last calendar year. Not even calendar year because it was Labor Day last year, so last 10 months. Big win for him. Steve McCarrick in the Super Gas, Super Street, Super Comp combo over his buddy Larry Pulver. So 2 guys came all the way up from Rochester, both looking for their first W's in the NHRA scene with a Wally, both even with the Wallies out of the combo. So it was a really great final to watch for those guys. We had Casey Kovac take the top dragster win on Sunday again. Brandon Firstel picked up junior dragster main event win over, and I can't read, Franklin McPherson. The sheets I got here aren't great. My apologies to those names. Here's where I kick in. Andrew Sturck over Dustin Taylor and Mod. Took 3 cars to the racetrack on the weekend, wound up with one on Sunday. Took the Camaro, tested it out for our future super stock Camaro. Didn't go as well as we were hoping. Corvette, trusty old Corvette, snaps an axle on Saturday. 2,600 runs is what I figure I put on that. I'm not sure whether I should be proud or call that shameful for not changing these sooner, but nonetheless, shout out to Strange on that one. Thank you for lasting that long, at least.
I want to know what
Dustin,
the expiry date is. Like when do you need to change them?
I don't know. That's, you know what? Maybe there's a conversation there, a topic for another time is like, when do you change stuff? Maybe that's the next show is at what point are you changing stuff? Because I talk to people all the time. It's like 100 runs and they're switching something out. There's other guys who tell me like, you just run it till it fails. So when does it fail? When it fails, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out. I'll let you know when I get there.
Let's throw that at the end of the show. I think that'd be a great one for 2 weeks from now because I'm going to have a lot of experience in this. I feel like after I get through fixing everything that's going to get fixed here. Bike sled, Mike Konopacki with another win back-to-back. Super Pro, Andrew Sturks over Ted Barnes. Ted got to the final of Super Pro. Great final there. We got lucky again. I flat out got lucky. I was not good in the final after being pretty decent up to it and got fortunate. Ted couldn't close the gap up a little bit more. So win there. And then Gary Rankin. Frank Hood, Gary Rankin with another W. So I caught the NHRA division director, Dave Moen, saying that next year they're just going to bring half Wallies since everyone's just going to win 2, apparently, days in a row. So we can just give out 1 Wally each. But it was a busy weekend, a lot of fun. Kudos to Toronto Motorsports Park. Did a great job. Track was very good under very difficult conditions. So it was a fun weekend.
Absolutely. Like you said, like there was a lot of double up names.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? I was reading through it. I'm unsure if you were just like copying, pasting the whole thing again.
Right?
Right.
No, it's flat out.
Yeah.
We get down to 3 cars each day, and it was pretty much similar faces looking at similar faces, right? So, and a lot of folks just on runs, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just when you're in a role or you're on a roll, as it's easy to keep it going, and that was very much the case. Some great stories too. I got to be honest with you. I got to mention this one. Chuck Nagy. Chuck's got a super stock car, and like thrash of the weekend goes to this guy. They blow up the transmission after run number 1, qualifier 1 on Saturday. It's a 3-speed car. They thrashed to put a power glide in it. And the glide length was the same as the 3-speed he had in it. I'm not sure what 3-speed it was, but it was the same length. So the drive shaft is. They work on it up to the last 3 cars in the class for round 1. He makes it to the lanes. It's 0.3 slower is what they're figuring. He puts a 940 on it. Trans brake's not working. Tach's not working. Foot brakes the car and goes 4 rounds, I think, on Saturday. Right? With a blind, like the blindest of blind shots off the trail,
Yeah.
right? And dials 940 and goes a 40. So, like, no quit over there. I think I watched at least a dozen teams thrashing under Chuck's car in between trying to make runs. So, credit where credit's due. That was, unfortunately, you couldn't seal a deal and go like deep rounds because that would be a great story, but like unreal to watch them come together and do that. And it did good on Sunday once they got everything sorted out and went multiple rounds. So, I think it's worthy mention from for everyone around Chuck and all the friends he had there to get that set up because it was fun to watch.
Absolutely.
As much as I wanted to help, I had 3 cars. Yeah. I still had 3 entries at that point on my weekend, so we donated parts, but
you had your own work to be done.
We were trying to up until I started breaking stuff. So
yeah, for sure. So I'll jump into the Lustville Dragway results. I missed half of the event. I showed up Saturday night. We had a celebration of life for my nan during the day. So did that, hung out with the family, and then we all loaded up, hit the road. Had a surprise visitor roll in with me down to the racetrack. My younger brother, Daniel, came out for his first time this year. Oh, yeah. He was together with the family on Saturday and then said, whatever. He's here. Let's do it. So we rolled down. Obviously, my car still broke. Should be ready. It will be ready for Canada Day weekend. So I drove his car twice, and he drove my mother-in-law Vicky's car.
Oh yeah.
Her back was sore. Rough day. Not a great time to be jumping in the race car with a sore back. It's not really going to fix things.
There's no chiropractic therapy to that whatsoever.
Not really. Not at all. So Daniel drove that, so that was good. Nice to have him back at the racetrack. That we had a lot of fun. Wish we were there longer, obviously, for the whole weekend. Get to really enjoy the whole thing. But it was a good weekend nonetheless. Apparently, it was the time to miss. If you were to miss a day, I was told, because Saturday, you talked about wind. Apparently, it was cold, like real cold. There was a lot of motorhomes sitting with furnaces on all day Saturday.
Mid-June, right? Who'd have thunk that? But
and we were all sweating, right? The first time we went out to ICAR, we were all sweating and dying out there. And then now, everybody's got sweaters and toques on when they roll in June. So it makes a lot of sense. So they actually had the power go out at the racetrack right before they were starting timed runs. So thankfully, they have experience with this, obviously, from doing the North races, Elliott Lake, Wawa, all the airport stuff. So it took them a little bit, but they got it all sorted out. Everything ran on generators for most of the day. I want to say Derek told me it was round 4 that power came back on and it was all good. But they did that. So, battled through a bit of adversity. But if you're going to have it happen, then better to happen on Saturday. When you've got extra time to spare, not everybody's in a hurry to get home.
Yep.
So Saturday, when they got through racing, you talked about kind of double ups and everybody joining each other in the winner's circle. This winner's circle, junior dragster and semi-pro, father and son, Jason and Parker Sagan take the win. Parker in the junior, Jason in semi-pro, which was his first event win. So congratulations to him. Great to see them. Great family. They started out, I think, just bringing the juniors for the longest time. Jason's into it now. Just got a new to him car. Excellent. So obviously something is working.
Absolutely.
And then another first win in Super Pro. It was Daryl Jensen, who is a multi-time champion. I think he said he's won the championship 3 times in semi-pro at Lustville. So making the transition a bit into Super Pro, takes his event win. I think he's ran it 4 or 5 times, maybe 4 or 5 weekends he's tried it before. Takes the event win over Troy Davis. Troy was 3 red in the final round. So congratulations to Daryl.
That's a big win, memorable win too, right? When you make that big move up to the next class there and you get your first W in it, like that's a memorable day.
Well, and then you're sold on it, right? Then you're sold in the class, and then you're ready to go race for it, right?
Yep.
And you really want to be a part of it. So that's great for him. Sunday we rolled around. Now I was there. I am not on this list. I was decent. Apparently not good enough to make the list.
It was a good points day, is what you're saying. It was a good points day.
It was a decent points day. Absolutely. I'm happy with it. That was why we wanted to go. So I definitely happy with it. Leah Monahan over Logan Auger in junior dragster. Leah is leading the points. I believe she won. She won the last event too on the Saturday. So Leah's got a commanding lead going on in the points
so far.
now. So she's rolling. As I said 2 weeks ago, the girls are on fire at Lustville. They're all dominating the junior class. Semi-pro, another first-time winner, Jake Ravel over Danny Sproul. And Super Pro was Darren Frazzo takes the win over Russ Adams. Now, Russ had a long trip to get to Lustville. He only showed up for Sunday, but he was in Namibia Thursday. Might have been Wednesday when he got there. He raced the Mutt and Jeff event at Namibia Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they weren't racing Sunday. So he had left Saturday night, drove home, got home, stayed there, and then he's not too far from the track. I want to say an hour, maybe hour and a half, and then shows up Sunday morning, goes to the final, close race. Needed to tighten it up a little bit, but that's the fun of running door cars, right?
That's a long week, like a long day out of a weekend, and still get to the final round. You got to get the leeway of not tightening it up after all of that driving.
Yeah,
still a great day. Wow,
absolutely. And he was the reason why my day was ended. I had a great lap. I was 22 total, still 3 thou behind. So that's how it goes. Yeah. That was that's how much went.
That's a tough one. But it's that's not bad. So that's all right. That's not a bad weekend in Lustville, right? So I saw the power outage. I was cruising on Facebook. I saw the post on it, and I have to admit I was impressed with the ingenuity. I mean, I'd forgotten about the airport events and the backup systems that are available, right, to the Lustville crew, right? But I got to admit, I was impressed to see that this isn't going to stop us. We're just go grab some more generators and let's get right back to racing. And I realized, that's all it's going to take here, right? You just need some 110 into the computer and the rest of the sensors, and away you go. So,
absolutely,
congrats. I like to see that. That's awesome. Grand Bend was running this weekend as well. A lot of tracks running, a lot of stuff going on this past weekend. They had their Stratford Spectacular, which was one of their big events of the year, community-based event. So it's a sponsored event from the Stratford, Ontario community. They run Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, Pro Mod. A lot of big teams out of Stratford. It's one of those kind of hub areas out in Ontario that just seems to have the largest per capita amount of race cars, anywhere, I feel like. So Saturday was a points race for the Thunder Series at Grand Bend. Top ET, Harry Goosens picking up the win. Harry won St. Thomas earlier this year. Lauren Roy, Junior Dragster Advanced. Brenna Federo, butchered that one. Junior Development. Brody Brown, Outlaw 330. Brody's dad has a Nitro Harley that you see often around Ontario, running with all of the big shows and Nitro events. Rock's Edge Extreme 32. Dean Schwimler picking up another win this year. It's a big win. That's a tough class, right? It's a lot of great guys running around in it. Ian Washington picking up the win in Concrete Solutions Washington Pools. So I'm guessing that's the sponsored class for Ian. Bike sled. Maple City Tire Mod, Frank Roberts, and Fox's Auto Sound Street, Jeff Talbot. You probably heard us talking about the Talbots a few times earlier in another episode. They're continuing their family domination of the season. And Alexis Grasby, Junior Consi winner. They were supposed to run Pro Mod at this event, but because of the winds we were talking about earlier, Pro Mod actually got canceled for this race. Now, some of the cars did end up running on Sunday, makes an exhibition. Top Sportsman and Top Dragster ran at that event. So they'll have some results here. So Sunday actually saw box and no box finals all run with a split and quit, actually. Will Steckley was in both finals for box and no box. I don't have who was in the other final for no box, but Tony Yosef was in the box final with Will, where the split and quit took place. Top Sportsman, Wes Goddard. If you've never seen this car, this is the Hellbilly Nash.
Yeah.
If you've never seen this before, Google this. You'll see it on the PSDS or Grand Bend website. It is a Nash Metropolitan, I think. It is the world's smallest car, twin turbo. The thing goes well into the sixes at 230 plus mile an hour. It leaves soft in charges. It's crazy looking. Wes built the entire thing. He's a genius fabricator. I think he built the delay box in it too. I'll be honest with you. Someone told me that. Can't confirm or deny it. He won over Bob Robinson. Top Dragster saw Dustin Gable over Bill McKay. Great year for Dustin and Carly, his wife, starting off. They were last year's Extreme 32 champions, so definitely got a start to the year going. The Pro Mod side of things kicks in. So Spencer Hyde. We've been talking about him and Scott Wildgust on the tour races down south. So Spencer, being from Stratford and Sunday, I guess, turning around, they got out, laid down a track record 369 at 208 just testing. So that was a big pass for them. Great to see. From the Department of Corrections, early in the episode here, Kirk Vanny putting me in my place with updated info. He was the runner-up last year in Superstock in that misplaced conversation I was having about Drew. I vividly remember it now that Kirk has brought it up because it was him versus one of the gentlemen from out east. And being a local, we were cheering for him pretty hard. So now that Kirk's mentioned it, I do remember that. So my apologies, Kirk. Drew was in 3 or 4 finals. Kirk brings up the runner-up in that one. But anyway, that was our Pro Mod weekend / Top Sports and Top Dragster Stratford Spectacular at Grand Bend.
Excellent. I was trying to look through and find a picture of Wes's car. The
Hellbilly?
Yeah, it is a Nash Metropolitan because growing up, and he's had this car for a while, when I was young, watching it, I would always immediately think that I wanted Neapolitan ice cream. Right. That's the only thing that came to my mind. So I always remember what it's called, and we'll always remember that car. It is a weapon.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a wild time to drive.
And he is like, it is a small car, and Wes is a tall dude. And the fact that he gets inside that car with all the turbos, the pipes, the motors, like this thing is a marvel of engineering, and it is wicked fast and consistent. Like it's a great, he wins. It was a very good field up in Grand Bend. They had a full Top Sportsman field, but I'm always like, go to the fence and watch this car type of draw to it whenever he runs. So
absolutely. So kind of drawing out to the end of the results that we have available to us at this point. Shannonville Drags is back. This was their first weekend back with Chuck Fram. Sorry, I was going to say driving the way. That makes sense.
Driving the new series, right?
Yeah. Great start to it. Excellent start. So Chuck was back, or brought Shannonville back. So they had a fair turnout, great turnout in the semi-pro category for sure, as was expected, right? There's a lot of awesome local racers that stay here that will always be there for any event. So it was great to see. Looked like a great event. He's got lots of pictures, lots of stuff going on. Results posted right away during the events or right as it finishes.
Absolutely.
Junior Dragster started out Samantha Chatwood over Raiden Steen. In junior, semi-pro was Todd Starr over Glenn Tandy. And super pro, there we go, clip over my tongue again. Saw Mr. KD Transmissions John Golka take the win over Nathan Hoskin. So Mr. KD taking that one down. Sunday, rolls it over. Raiden Steen then gets it back from his runner-up finish.
Nice.
On Saturday, takes the win over Carly Parkhurst. Semi-pro, Glenn Taney, same thing. Runner-up on Saturday, takes the event win on Sunday. And then Super Pro sees Tim Knight, kind of the out-of-towner, coming to Shannonville and then taking home the win. Once again, over Mr. KD, Johnny Golka. So great event. There's a lot going on. I'm really excited to see more from Chuck and see what comes up. I actually just got an invite to his next event. So he's got on Facebook to it. So there's a lot going on, right? He's excited. He's happy with how it went. So good for those guys and everybody. Hopefully it keeps rolling and does become a great series for everybody around here.
And I did see, so I was looking at the pictures. So a couple, like there was there a tornado that rolled through Shannonville, not before that event on the Friday? Was I wrong about that?
Yeah, Thursday.
Sorry.
I was out in a school bus during that.
Holy
it was pretty wild.
We had some nasty weather, but I was following this, and that's why I tuned in. I'm like, oh my God, someone sent, I think my wife Jess sent me a message saying like Shannonville tornado. And so I'm immediately on checking things out as I'm waiting in line at Cayuga to get in. And thankfully track wasn't hurt. They were able to run. Saw that they had some new equipment for dragging the track prep, things like that. That was neat that Chuck was able to bring with him out. So excited to see what he can do. I'm known Chuck for quite a few years through the Grand Bend. He's done the Windsor weekend out there. He's always been a very straightforward, smart, promoter, right? And I'm hoping for good things for everyone out in Shannonville and for Chuck and the rest of the folks. So excited to see it back up and running, and excited to see the tornado went around it. So
yes, it did. It was a mess. The other side of Belleville, like 5 minutes from us, was a mess. Like
lots of
up down. Our place, this side of town was fine. It was wild, weird. But everybody else had it. We got a comment here from Chris about ONDR being at Shannonville. Absolutely. And Chuck has all the results posted here, just not the full names of all the racers. So I'm unsure who all was there, but absolutely a great turnout for it. And we've always had a great turnout for nostalgia stuff with or without ONDR there. ONDR obviously brings more racers with the group, but there's always an excellent turnout of nostalgia racers to come and support the track. So
but don't forget too, folks, like if you've got results out there, get tracks to post them. We're trying to do our best to monitor everywhere we can with big events, key events, things like that. Canadians racing abroad now that we have access to get across the border. Don't be afraid. Send us messages. Let us know. We have so many eyes, so many hours, and so many abilities to find results. We love to be able to highlight, good stories, great events, big wins. So keep stuff rolling at us because we will report on it if we know it happens and existed.
Yeah.
So
that's right. And then we do have the winners form on the website.
Yes.
For Bracket Life. So everybody who you win an event, know somebody who wins an event, have a great story to tell. Go on bracketlifebrand.com, go on to the winners form or the winners form and fill that out. Let us know. We would love to share all of it. And talk about being busy. Obviously it is crazy right now for you and I, right in the thick of it. If everybody here is not aware, we are going to Edmonton this weekend, Rachel and I, with my parents, to race at the Oil City Classic with Travis. Sorry. So I have a van picking us up at 4 a.m. In 8 hours.
Finish the show and basically just go get in a vehicle to leave for the race. Is essentially how this goes down, right?
That's right. So Rachel is working on making sure everything's packed and ready to go. We're bringing merchandise out, T-shirts, hats. What else? We got T-shirts, hats, socks, something else, maybe. But keeping there, the tumblers, just like that. There it is. That's why I don't have mine. It's because mine's packed. That's why I'm using my Million Cup.
There you go. Yes. I saw the Million Cup earlier there, and I was wasn't sure if that was hints of things to come or just what that was about. But
it'll depend. If this weekend goes well, right, then maybe it'll be all good. I just got my update where we have logbooks and tank tops as well.
There you go.
Coming to Edmonton for us. So
great logbooks. I like the logbooks. I've had a lot of logbooks over the years from various companies. Always great. Yours is set up real great too. So it's it's worth picking one up if you don't have one, or if you're looking to get a good logbook. Bracket Life logbook, right
Absolutely.
there.
That's an excellent plug, Andrew. Excellent plug. I appreciate it. I tried really hard when we were making this up to have it be really something that is going to be useful for the average racer.
Oh, I think we lost you there for a minute, buddy.
Oh,
So maybe we'll segue in
back now.
on upcoming events. Oh, you still have you there, Brandon?
I have you. I don't have anything. Or the fun of.
Oh, I lost you for a couple minutes there.
Oh.
I was just going to start to segue into upcoming big events because I wasn't sure if we'd lost you permanently or if we were going to just have you on freeze for a couple minutes there. So you're talking about the Oil City Classic coming up. You guys are heading there. 5K Friday, 10 Saturday, 30K shootout Saturday night, 10 Sunday. And there's a no box shootout in there too, I think, for 7,500, 16 cars. That should be a lot of fun. And that's going to be broadcast as well. We were talking about that in a previous episode.
Yep.
So we'll be able to watch you and Rachel and just about everyone else out west duking it out for big money on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's right. I'm excited to get out and meet everyone. I see you're nodding, so obviously I must be back now with it. That's good.
You're kind of coming and going a little bit there. So maybe I'll just throw through a few. Are you still there? There it is.
Yep.
Canada Day weekend. Got another big weekend coming up right after this one. GBM got 4 days. We're sponsoring, actually. DSE's got Thursday, Friday sponsorship. We're doing a high roller shootout Thursday night. Got 1,500 to win deals on Friday, Thunder Series Saturday, Sunday. Super Tour coming up, Lustville, same Canada Day weekend, second stop of the year. Twin 5Ks. Am I right on that, Brandon? I got you back there now. So
yeah,
on that one. So that'll be a great one to go to if you're in the Eastern Ontario or Quebec region. Canada Day weekend continues. Nitro Nationals, Toronto Motorsports Park, first big show race of the weekend. Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, Pro Mod. I was just looking at the list on this one. Nitro Top Fuel Dragsters, Nitro Funny Cars. They've got some A-Fuel cars booked in. The jet truck of his Hellfire jet truck. Actually just set a personal record on the weekend at Grand Bend. I kind of glossed over that part of it, but it went 2:26 in the Kenworth in the quarter mile. I thought so too. I was quite impressed by that, but it'd be a big show weekend there. I think Canada heads up. Ian Hill is having a 10-5 like super street specialty shootout at that event too. Always enjoy watching the 10-5 cars. There are a lot of neat hardware there, and without glossing over too much stuff, Rad Torque will go back out west. Rocky Mountain Nationals, July 8th to the 10th. I think that's a national open as well.
I believe so.
Travis could confirm that one if he's watching, or anyone else from out west, to be honest with you. But big event, cornerstone race for out there. And then keep with the national opens, Medicine Hat. They've got their 30th anniversary. I picked up on this one about a week ago when I was going through looking at results. July 15th, 16th, 17th, 30 years of the National Open, NHR National Open at Medicine Hat. So be great to see some results from that. I've seen some Super Gas and Super Combo results, Super Stock from there before. So neat track. Was looking at some pictures of it. I don't know if you've seen any video or things like that. It's a club track for those who don't know much about it. So it's kind of a neat setup. No one owner. It's a organization. So interesting setup.
Yeah, I just saw some pictures they posted today of the track, and I believe they just got new event shirts track T-shirts as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So I saw that, and then one more to add to the Rad Torque deal.
Yep.
Between the Oil City race and the Rocky Mountain Nationals is the top Eliminator 100K weekend.
Yes.
They are paying out $100,000 guaranteed. That is 40 grand to win Saturday and 40 grand to win Sunday for Super Pro. And then the total payouts for it all, they are paying out $100,000.
That's incredible. That is huge money on Canadian soil, eh?
Yeah. And I've said, if we have a successful weekend this week, and maybe somebody wants me to, hang out and stay, and I can drive something else too. Try for get that 100,000 or get a piece of it.
If you can get that 30K win on the Saturday night, maybe you can just buy a ride and stick around, right?
You're right.
Put a dent in the budget to be able to buy a ride. So
for sure. Absolutely.
Awesome.
And we've also talked about that, and then switching down because the SFG 500 or the $500,000, I believe is
Yeah.
called, is coming up as well. So I'm not sure how many Canadians will be down there. I know Don Vincelli's going. I believe Dominic Cincerelli will be traveling with him.
Yep.
Anybody else knows of any other Canadians? Let us know. I think we should be able to watch. So
I'm pretty sure that'll be on.
that's on Motormania.
Yeah, that's terrible. After just talking about live streaming 2 weeks ago, right? So
Yeah,
that's great. But
there's a lot
yeah, it should
going
be fun
on.
to watch. I'm pretty sure there'll be a few Canadians from. Yeah, you know what? Like I've gone to the Bracket Life website, right? Has the Canadian master schedule, and I'm using that as I was going through, and I'm just thinking like every weekend there's so many events across Canada. Highlighting essentially some of the big ones was the key, what we were looking for,
Yeah.
but it was unreal. Great way to plan your race schedule if you can find races in your area or not sure about them, which kind of terribly segues into talking a little bit about a subject for tonight, which was going to be basically, planning goals, executing goals, essentially just, goal orientations for race programs, right? If you're going to get into, sitting down and trying to figure out a way to create goals for yourself, and should you have any free race program, schedule was like the fundamental start of what are your goals for a race season? What do you want to do? Bracket Life website has an entire list to be able to start that particular part from, so worth checking out. But yeah, so I guess a good way to work in this is do you? I'll start with just like the personal question. Goal setting, is that something you do in your program? Is that something like, how do you go about doing it? I guess we'll just go back and forth on this one because I feel like that's a strong way to do it, because I've kind of had two different ways to do it myself, and I've done it both ways, of having nothing to feeling like I've got a pretty long list that I set every spring. So Brandon Barker, what does Brandon do with goal setting in his racing program?
For myself, I have two kind of, let's say, types of goals. So first, obviously, I have my great big goal, right? This is the full year. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish. But it has to be still attainable to a certain degree, right? You can't just be throwing stuff out that you'll never actually get to, because then it can't. If there's no way that physically that you can actually do this, then it is what it is. For myself this year, my goal is to win the Lustville Points Championship. Going to do the absolute best that I can to try and do that. So, and then you kind of work that into, that's one main one. Well, now we have a bunch of little ones. Now we have to hit, I believe it's 10 events this year, or 10 weekends. So you're committed to that. That's what you're doing. Goes with the schedule, right? So I know where I'm going to be for so many days of the year. And then per day, my goal really, I guess it kind of stays the same for each day, and it kind of feels like it almost resets, is that I want to be as good as I can be and be decent. Like, I do not want to lose because whatever, you were sloppy on the tree, or you were sloppy driving the finish line. Like, you put together good races, the best that you can, and then it's just a mental thing that you kind of reset over and over again. It never kind of, obviously you go in with the intent of that, but I feel when you look at it as this is a weekend long goal, and then when I'm driving home, win, lose, or whatever, you can look back and say, did I accomplish this? Was I good on the tree? Was I consistent on the tree? And then if not, why?
Yeah.
Right? You're not just in general looking in space and kind of, not just looking at, say, Saturday and Sunday. Now you're incorporating like the last month of, good or bad runs that you've had. Right. I really try and break it up for myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And then a lot of it through the winter will be, exercise on the practice tree or doing things like that. Or also just like goals of getting equipment sorted out and fixed up, right? If you have a lingering problem or something that you have to make better, then you set that's a goal that you need this to be better for equipment. And that could be the motorhome, the trailer setup, or on the race cars itself. So
yeah, I think that touches on a good point. Like, it's fundamental, because there's multiple ways you can kind of break this down, right? And it's funny because on the weekend we had some great conversations with a bunch of different racers at the track about kind of like their goals for the weekend when we were at the National Open. It's funny how I started racing. Setting goals was a thing. Like the goal was to go to the racetrack and have fun, as fundamental as it possibly could be.
Yeah.
What's your goal? To unload the car, have fun, and drive it back in the trailer. And that was like the goal of the racing program until, I started to become a little more serious about it. Right. And this past weekend, talking to guys, like I was talking to seasoned racers, who's won championships, who've won many races, who've looked at their program and went, I want to be better. Right. And I think we've all done that at points where we've sat down and went like, whether it's, I want to be better at being able to put some rounds up. I want to be better to be able to say I can go into deep rounds. I just want to be flat out more competitive. If I'm going to, be at races and have a good time, I just don't want to be the duck, right? So one of the conversations with this racer was his goal was finish line driving. Like he didn't care per se that, if he was going to go rounds or not. His goal was to tighten up his finish line driving. That was the expectation of racing that weekend. After spending a few weekends unsuccessfully tightening things up, his goal was, I want to take, X amount or less every race while I'm, either spot dropping or, holding numbers or just flat out, having to dial on us racing a much faster car, but seeing what the stripe's going to look like. If I can tighten it up, I want to tighten up to this, if I'm not holding. And he ended up having a good weekend, did go rounds, but, his expectation was, I just want to make good laps with a tight finish line. If I make a bad lap due to a reaction time or a misdial, make a good finish line decision. And I think that was kind of funny how we were talking about it leading into the show. And I was thinking, that wasn't something I'd thought about because I hadn't always done that, right? It wasn't even nowadays. Like when I go into a race weekend, I almost look at race weekends as expectations on results. I want to make good laps. The goal is if I feel I can make good laps, whether that's working on the reaction time, make that I'm going to go rounds, right? And if I made good laps, I don't feel bad about it. If I made bad laps, I'm pretty upset with oneself that, particularly if you make a bad lap against another not so great lap, that's just better than yours, right? But the idea of goal setting was simply like, what is this? And you can break this down, and I think it gets deep, much deeper than some of us, who are maybe just racing for the fun of it, want to go. But for others whose goal is to go to the track and be as good as possible, a key part to any program is going to be setting reasonable goals, expectations that are obtainable, right? Like there are tons of books on this. You can get outside of the sport and read a ton on this type stuff. And when we see it, if you're part of the elite program, like this is Bracket Racing Elite, there are large sections in that type deal, just talking about preparation and goal planning and making it obtainable, right? If your goal is to win a world championship, that's fine. But if you're, part of that goal setting is that, you can't travel and go to world championship qualifying events for whatever series you're following, is it obtainable, right? It's not obtainable then, right? If you've got a program that's all over the place, you can't predict within 7, hundredths on any given pass, you're likely not going to obtain your goal. And if your goal is not achieved or even close to achievable, you're going to be let down and frustration kicks in, right? And I think some of us get away from that too, where we set lofty expectations without a reasonable plan of execution, and you can't get there. And it compounds now. Now you're frustrated. Now going to the track's not fun, right? And this all comes back to what was your goal, right? If your goal is to go out and be really good, but you can't sit down and look at things and go, I'm making good laps. Well, step one goal is figure out how to make good laps. Maybe that's working on the car. Maybe that's working on yourself. Maybe that's just working on how you pull into the staging lanes, right?
Yeah.
Not that sometimes can be worked on, but you get what I'm saying.
That's right.
Sometimes it's just as little as maybe I'll wait 5 more minutes because that's where the luck is. Whatever works, but setting something, right? And it's difficult. And I think it's something you got to work on, right? Is what are your goals on this? They don't have to be big. They don't have to be lengthy. I've seen people with novels. I've seen people with short lists. I've seen people with just one thing written on the dash of their race car, which is just don't suck.
Yeah.
It can be
one is be better. right? I got that one from the Goche family or group, Dale and Mac, to be better. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Very simple plan, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it is, as you mentioned, the preparation for it, right? If you want to do this, this, and that, well, how am I actually going to accomplish that? So then, all right, well, now you need to take the active steps to set yourself up for success. And that can very well be a goal, just to have your whole system at the racetrack be better executed. For myself, when I started double entering, I found for a little bit, I was like running around a lot, right? Because you come back, stuff's hot, you're in a hurry, you don't have a whole lot of time, especially at the end of the day. So I was determined that I'm going to figure out the best way and the most efficient way to have my stuff set up. So now when I park, and different racetracks pose different, let's not say problems, but setups, because you can't necessarily always park in the same location for it. But still, I have 3 extension cords that I bring. Right. And one, plugs the trailer in, one plugs one dragster in, and then I have a splitter. It splits into 3 plugs the other dragster in, and then I can move. I have 2 fans that I run for transmission cooling, as well as the Jones transmission pumps that we have. And then I can move that from car to car with just moving one cord. And then I know where they sit. I know where they go. I set it back, and then like the chargers never move. When we race at Lustville, I unhook the charger. It stays right there. Just the cables come out. So all that preparation, that I find, you take so much stress away from yourself to achieve the goal of being good. Right.
And being good in 2 entries or doubles and going around, right? That takes a lot of fundamentalists to get there and figure that part out. And if you don't have that planning session to get to that goal, like, you get lost, right? We learned the same thing when we started to double, when we were just using 1 car to double and then eventually moved to 2. Like, planning preparation towards the goal. What do I do? I want to double up. I want to run both these cars or both these entries deep. But if you're, the goal is lofty at first, but if you don't have a good session of working through, and learning, I mean, geez, we learned a ton on how to take a car and double, right? Which allowed us to plan and execute and achieve our goal, right? Better. But it's one of those things where sometimes if you don't sit down and write out what you're really trying to do, you really don't ever get to the proper execution, because you start to actually backtrack. You got to, here's my goal, work backwards to figure out how it's achievable. And if you don't do that part, you really get lost fast, right? I mean, we do it like stop testing, throttle stop racing. I know that's something that that's not something you've done, but on the weekend I was helping a gentleman get a throttle stop set up, and the goal was like on their end, just, can we make this work? New car to them, had some numbers from the previous owner, but really none of it meant much of anything, because I don't think he had much success with it. The funny part was, after about 2 days, we had the car, running very consistent numbers, good enough that I think they were starting to consider going to divisionals, and we were on day 2 of this whole adventure. But the goal was, is this something we want to do? Can we do it, right? And I was fortunate to be helping them a little bit to be able to do that, right? But their goal was like, I'd like to go to these big events. How do we get there? So they bought a car, comes with all this stuff, and they're able to figure it out. So a lot of this comes back to, I think, not planning on the go, not goal setting on the go, right? And really fundamentally looking at what you want to do with your program, what you want to do with racing in general, right? Flip side is, I know lots of people who race with no goals. Like, their whole point is just to go and have fun, and they do great, right? I think there's some people that work better off the cuff without expectations, imposed, right? And that's fine too. I think a lot of folks need to figure out what that works for them, right?
And I think for people that, because as you said, that does work for a lot of people, and then you just need to make sure that lines up. Because for myself, and I'd imagine it's the same for you, I set very high expectations for myself for how I am going to perform on the racetrack, and how it's going to go, and how I would like the day to go, right? Obviously, as I said, my goals, I want to be, this good on the starting line. I want to do this at the finish line, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But for me, it is always that I'm having fun at the racetrack.
Yeah.
You cannot let it dictate the rest of that, right? And take that away, right? And then, you make a mistake, or, you fail a goal to a certain degree, like, you're late on the tree, or you mess up the finish line and you're disappointed with that or upset with it. But in the big picture of it, that still does not eliminate my whole thing of having a good time and wanting to be at the racetrack. And for people that are there with just solely that goal, to have fun. And that is just as good as, having all these other expectations that you set on yourself, because that's the main thing, right? Everybody just has to have a good time. If nobody's having fun, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's going to get awfully lonely at the racetrack if we were all just stuck to, we all had to be this successful and this, whatever.
Well, and that's like, you get that, like, with the goal, like you talk to folks from, like, my goal is to go win this weekend. Like, that is, I'm not going to say that's not a bad goal, but if you let, that's the lone thing you're looking to go do this weekend and to make it a good weekend, right? Kind of, this ties into previous conversations we've had, right? About just, racing and having like general expectations that are reasonable, right? And working on it. But like, if your whole reason to go to the track is to win, you are going to be disappointed way more often than you're going to be happy, which means you're going to be way more disappointed in your goal of achievement than not, right? So, great. I think everyone's goal is to go to the track and win. If you don't go with at least some percentage of thought that my goal is to win today, well, I guess thank you for donating, right?
Yeah, that's right.
To the purse. It's kind of a harsh way to say it, but it's got to be reasonable. If it's not reasonable, I mean, you're going to set yourself up for failure, and it will become miserable. And I've raced with folks who've had that expectation, like, I got to win every time, or I'm going to win every time. Like, that's it. And boy, does it get miserable to be around them, right? Because every day they're not in a final round is another bad day. And I'm like, buddy, I've not had a great day either. I would just kill to have been in the money, right? Like $50 coming back my way buys a couple hamburgers tomorrow. Not that I need them in any facet, but like those type of things. So you got to be understanding. I see the boss has chimed in here on our notes. Good goal is to work on improving organization, warm up, pre-time trial. Dad with the big, all the secrets here from DSE Racing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And pretty much like, right, I totally agree with all that you need to work on the organization, right? You can't show up to the racetrack with, I'm going to win today, but then you don't know where the tire pressure gauge is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, well, where's that? Well, I don't, like, that's kind of handy to have and know what you're going to do with that.
Preparation, right? Organization, right? I guess, and that's a fair comment to make. Like, those go hand in hand with goal setting. Right? You can set anything you want on paper, have anything set, but if you're not at home preparing for that goal, organizing to try to achieve that, you're immediately behind the eight ball. You get down to round 4, double entered. If that's, I want to take 2 entries deep. That's my idea every time I want to go to the track. That's a goal of mine. And you're not prepared for it. You probably aren't going to achieve things very successfully, right? Yeah. But then experience will always dictate where it is until you get to that point. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right?
That's right.
But I think the key part is that, like, don't set lofty expectations that are unachievable. And if you do set lofty expectations, create a plan to execute them, right? Like, years ago when we started running, one of the things we got into doing a habit of was going to the track back before 2-day weekends, back when like single day racing was a thing in our part of the world, where, you'd race Saturday at Grand Bend, Sunday at Cayuga. Like, we would go to Cayuga on Saturday and we'd test. I wore lots of tires out, lots of engines, burned lots of fuel, just making passes on Saturday in early years, just trying to get better at it. I mean, that's something even now I find shocking sometimes talking to people. Like, our goal is to get good. And you talk to them about, well, what are you doing to get there? And testing is just kind of like, wow, that's expensive. Well, that's also the way you figure out whether the car is going to work. It gets you seat time, not in race environment. If, NHL teams practice, NFL teams practice. They spend a lot of time on the field, but the actual game is a small percentage of their total life, in a sport, right? You can have great expectations and goals, but if you don't go out there and work on them, right? And that was one of the surprising things, even talking to folks recently, was like, well, we don't go out and make runs. Well, maybe you should. Like,
Yeah.
that's something, right?
Yeah. Maybe try that a few times. So kind of the whole deal with preparation kind of leads into, we'll start talking about what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Right. When we had brought up changing parts, what you need to change, that is exactly preparation, right? Preventative maintenance, things like that. Is 2,600 runs the expiry date for axles? I don't know.
Give or take, in my experience right now, apparently so, roughly.
Yeah. So let's figure that all out. So we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks, as well as, I'd imagine it's going to be quite a Canadian countdown.
I think so. As I said, we pointed out the upcoming events, right? There's a ton of stuff coming up all across Canada over the next. It's the heart of our season, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Late June, early July, all the big stuff starting to happen. So it'll be a great show to recap some big events, your adventures, super Eliminator stuff. I can't wait to see how that works out after Travis's event too.
Yeah.
Everybody
else on here, let us know where you're going.
Yeah.
Where everybody else plans on racing and what they're excited for. Because the more events we know about, the more events we can look into and talk about. Because I'm excited. I really want to hear all the results from everywhere. Like you said, the top Eliminator stuff. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of results from the Oil City Classic, where I go. And then you're going to have a lot going on. Yeah. Like the whole West. Well, I guess it's Southern Ontario.
Mission, right? I think there's a divisional coming up there shortly for Mission in BC, right? And it's always a well-attended event. I think it'll be the first time in a couple of years now because of COVID that they'll be getting their divisional back. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens there. But yeah, we'd love to hear more feedback, like folks, messaging in about where they're excited to go, where they've been. As you mentioned on the top of the show, even there's the Bracket Life Winners Forum, right? Like if you've won an event, got a great story, I'd love to hear about it. I mean, I witnessed the Chuck Nagy story. I wished it was a win for him, right, when we were at the National Open. But if you've got a big win with a big story, we want to hear about it. I'd love to feature it. We love talking to folks about this stuff, right? We had Ryan O'Connor on just last week talking about all his big success recently, and it was fun to be able to talk about that. And there's great stories across Canada. That's what we want to feature on this. That's what we want to talk about. Even if you go south, right? Adam Bazantis will be a great guy to talk to on here one day about the destroyer and his successes and just some of the absolute lunatic-like thrashes he's had just to get to races, right? Maybe we'll have to talk to him in the coming weeks to see about getting him on here to get some of those stories, because if there's anyone in the world who deserves an on-the-road featured column like Luke or Dan Fletcher have done over the years, I feel like Bazantis is one of them as well. Because once Adam gets, we need him to get the blower motor sorted out. He bought the baby blower. I did see that. Been having some struggles with it. So once it gets sorted out, like I'm excited to see. I obviously love to hear everything that kind of went on. I would love to buy one myself. So kind of works out. You get to watch somebody else do it and then find the pros and the cons. I'm a big fan of other people R&Ding my great thoughts. Like, I would love to do that. And then you see someone doing it, and you're like, I'll just wait to see how this turns out. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's about that for tonight. One thing I wanted to plug before we did roll, the Grand Bend event in August, the 660 Nationals, still taking entries for the Bracket Life brand high roller event, or super high roller. You could probably call it 20 grand to win. Yep. Check that out. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Let Drew know if there's any questions about it. So still taking lots of entries, lots of room, lots of time. Yep. To still get in, make some money, get ready for it. But that'll be good. As always, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's Bracket Life broadcast. If you aren't already subscribed to our YouTube and Facebook pages, check that out. Always keep up on what's going on. And for those who are listening to the replay on all of the podcast platforms now that we're available on, be sure to leave us a review, share with a friend if you have found any value out of the show. We appreciate it. We appreciate the shares, the likes, the ratings that we get for the reviews. And thank you very much. And thanks again, Katie Transmission, for supporting the show.
we'll see you guys all in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Have a good one. Enjoy Edmonton.